Some of these places were abandoned after disease, violence, or unexplained tragedies. Others still receive visitors despite decades of stories involving ghost sightings, strange noises, and people disappearing into dark hallways alone. From isolated forests to ancient castles and forgotten hospitals, these locations became feared not only because of their history, but because so many people claim something still remains there. The Stanley Hotel. The Stanley Hotel sits deep in the mountains of Colorado and became famous after inspiring the novel The Shining. Built in the early 20th century, it was originally meant to be a peaceful luxury hotel surrounded by nature. Over time, guests began describing strange experiences during the night. Some reported hearing footsteps in empty corridors, piano music coming from vacant rooms, or figures standing silently at the ends of hallways before suddenly disappearing. Employees also shared stories involving lights turning on by themselves and doors opening without explanation. The hotel eventually embraced its haunted reputation, attracting paranormal investigators and curious visitors from around the world. Even today, many guests arrive expecting to experience something unusual before they leave. Eastern State Penitentiary. Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia was once one of the most feared prisons in America. Opened in 1829, the prison became known for its system of extreme isolation, where inmates spent years alone inside silent cells. The psychological effects were devastating. Prisoners often lost their sense of reality after long periods without human interaction. After the prison closed, visitors and workers began reporting whispers echoing through empty cell blocks, shadowy figures moving through corridors, and metal doors slamming shut on their own. The building itself still feels frozen in another era. Cracked walls, rusted bars, and dark passageways create an atmosphere that many people describe as deeply unsettling, even before hearing the ghost stories connected to it. Aokigahara Forest. Aokigahara Forest lies near Mount Fuji in Japan and is known for its dense trees and unnatural silence. The volcanic ground beneath the forest absorbs sound so well that many visitors describe the area as unnervingly quiet. Over the years, local legends began associating the forest with restless spirits. People who entered the area claimed to hear distant whispers, footsteps behind them, or sudden movements deep between the trees. Some visitors even described feeling disoriented after only a short time inside the forest. Part of what makes Aokigahara so disturbing is how isolated it feels. Once surrounded by the trees, the outside world seems to disappear completely, leaving only silence and the feeling that something may be watching from deeper within the forest. The Tower of London. The Tower of London has stood in England for centuries and witnessed executions, imprisonment, torture, and political betrayal throughout its history. Many prisoners were held there before facing death, including nobles and members of royalty. Because of that violent past, stories involving ghosts became attached to the tower long ago. Guards and visitors claimed to see apparitions wandering through corridors or standing near old execution grounds late at night. One of the most famous legends involves Anne Boleyn, who was executed there in the 16th century and is said to still appear carrying her severed head. The castle remains one of the most visited landmarks in England, but its darker history continues to follow it centuries later. Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky once treated thousands of patients suffering from tuberculosis before modern medicine made the disease easier to control. During the height of the epidemic, many patients died inside the building. As years passed, stories about the abandoned sanatorium became increasingly disturbing. Visitors described hearing screams echoing through hallways, seeing dark figures standing motionless inside rooms, and feeling sudden cold spots throughout the building. One location inside the sanatorium became especially infamous, a tunnel reportedly used to transport bodies away from patients to avoid spreading panic. The building's history, combined with its decaying appearance, turned it into one of the most famous haunted hospitals in America. Poveglia Island. Poveglia Island sits in the Venetian lagoon near Italy and carries a deeply unsettling reputation. During outbreaks of plague centuries ago, the island was reportedly used to isolate the sick and dying far away from the mainland. Later, a mental hospital operated on the island, adding even more disturbing stories to its history. Local legends claim former patients heard voices, saw apparitions, or experienced terrifying visions before the hospital eventually closed. Today, the island remains abandoned. Crumbling buildings, empty courtyards, and silence covering the entire area help transform Poveglia into one of the most feared locations in Europe. Bangar Fort. Bangar Fort in India is widely considered one of the most haunted places in the country. Built during the 16th century, the fort eventually became abandoned after political conflict and economic collapse. According to local legend, the area was cursed long ago, and stories about spirits wandering through the ruins spread across nearby villages for generations. Authorities eventually prohibited people from entering the site at night because of its reputation. Visitors often describe the location as strangely quiet, especially after sunset. Empty temples, broken walls, and abandoned streets stretching across the desert landscape give the fort an atmosphere that feels both ancient and deeply unsettling. Edinburgh Castle. Edinburgh Castle overlooks the city of Edinburgh from high volcanic rock and has stood there for centuries. Throughout its history, the castle witnessed wars, sieges, executions, and countless deaths within its walls. Stories involving paranormal activity have surrounded the castle for generations. Guards and visitors claim to hear phantom footsteps in underground tunnels, distant screams coming from empty chambers, and the sound of drums echoing through the night with nobody there. One of the most famous legends involves a piper who entered hidden passageways beneath the castle centuries ago and never returned. According to the story, the sound of his music slowly faded underground before disappearing completely. Many of these places became famous because of their dark histories, but what truly keeps people fascinated are the stories that continue long after the original events ended. Even now, visitors still walk through these buildings, forests, and ruins, claiming they heard something, saw something, or felt something they could not explain. And if you enjoyed this video, you can watch the next one appearing on your screen now.